Tonight, in this edition of the primetime newscast on Equinox Television, the call for a frank and genuine dialogue as far as the Anglophone crisis is concerned was general, as Patricia Scotland's visit to Cameroon entered a crucial phase. That was this Friday as she visited the Southwest Regional headquarters of Buea, one of the regions hit by the socio-political crisis rocking Cameroon that is now called the Anglophone problem. Chiefs of the Southwest region met their stance on the return to two-state federation very clear. Many have so far criticized why those of the Northwest region of Cameroon and elites were not represented. That is our lone headline for tonight. We shall be right back with the details. Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the primetime newscast on Equinox Television. The most decisive and crucial aspect of the visit of the Commonwealth scribe was today, as she visited the Southwest Regional headquarters of Buea, one of the regions plagued by the Anglophone crisis for more than 1 year now. But before we come back to the atmosphere that reigned in Buea and also in the nation's capital, Yaoundé, today, as far as the meeting between her and some opposition party leaders is concerned, we are going to be talking about the installation ceremony, or rather the graduation ceremony of some B elements in Limbe. That was a ceremony which took place yesterday, chaired by the Defense Minister Joseph Vetia Somo. It should be noted that some 1,850 recruited B elements have simply been told to defend the country's territorial integrity, which, according to the Defense Minister, is being threatened by the current Anglophone crisis. Minister Joseph Vetia Somo was speaking during the ceremony to mark the end of their 5-month training course that was in Limbe. It took place in the Man of War Bay, that is in Limbe, as Davis Imamo tells us in the following report.
There were 1,906 in numbers from the 2017 batch who registered for the infantry commando with a B. However, 1,850 sailed through the stage. According to the commander of the B Training Center, Rene Danzabe, the 5 months training had this young element of the Rapid Intervention Battalion of the Cameroon Elite Force divided into 3 groups in 3 different localities.
Dès l'effectif de 1906 au départ, les stagiaires furent répartis en 3 groupements de 600 stagiaires chacun dans les villes de Limbe et Bamenda, avec un séjour en zone opérationnelle à l'extrême nord.
Satisfied with the training undergone by the soldiers and the turnout of the population to witness the ceremony, the minister delegate at the presidency in charge of defense, Betty Asomo, expressed satisfaction.
Your presence honors us and equally honors the entire defense and security forces. I feel particularly honored to be with you here today, Manoube, an historic site for our defense forces and our country.
Nonetheless, the minister did not fail to caution the young soldiers of what lies ahead of them as they strive with the spirit of patriotism in defending the fatherland.
Votre formation intervient, vous le savez, dans un contexte marqué par de grandes menaces contre la paix et l'unité auquel notre pays doit en ce moment faire face.
The minister took time to have a handshake with the custodians and keepers of the tradition of the land, the chiefs in Limbe. The ceremony ended in a purely military style.
An entrance into the Man of War Bay, that is the B headquarters in Limbe, Southwest region, was under strict control. Yesterday, 3 checkpoints were mounted, and those attending the ceremony at the B headquarters in Limbe had to trek for several minutes before arriving the ceremonial ground. Davis Imamo tells us in the following report that it is as a result of the persisting Anglophone crisis. His report.
The recent attacks at some gendarmerie brigade in Mamfe and other localities, especially within the Anglophone region, is one of the catalysts behind the security checks mounted along the road to the B base at Manawa Bay. More than 3 checkpoints mounted not leaving out B element lined up along the route right to the base. Conscious of the unforeseen, the B element are armed ready for any eventuality. Visitors attending the event had to trek on foot for more than a kilometer from where all vehicles were forced to stop and parked. Though trekking on foot, the visitors equally had to toe the line as instructions to walk on a particular lane on the road had to be followed without any hesitation. From the special unit jumping from the helicopter, gliding down a rope from the helicopter to hand combat was also a show of force from the elite unit of the Cameroon military, technically and tactically assuring the Cameroonian population of their ever readiness in securing their lives and property from any intruder. However, the minister and his entourage, made up of over 4 generals and other top military and administrative authorities, privately witnessed some skills acquired by the elite force in combating terrorism and any pressure group at the Shande Tea, prohibited from the visitors and the media. If there is anything the visitors are taking back home, it is seeing military personnel gliding from a rope from an helicopter, something many of them have only watched on war movies.
And an evaluation of the prevailing situation in the northwest and southwest regions of the country was the focus of the second ordinary session of the Moyoka Council that took place that was yesterday. The mayor, who condemned killings of civilians, equally called on the government to improve on the well-being of the entire population. 1 billion francs CFA was adopted as the budget of the Moyoka Council for the year 2018. Derek Jato was there. He brought back the following report.
As King Michael of Moyoka Council takes his subdivision into 2018, he is certainly aware that the municipality has been injured on many fronts in 2017. 1. The recent fire disaster at the Moyoka market.
And I just waiting for 2018, so I will call a meeting. I and the stakeholder we should meet and we'll see how we can look for a way to move forward for the construction of the Moyoka market.
The Munyenge Bafia crisis that is as old as Moyoka subdivision.
It's a very serious crisis. We cannot imagine that a village of like Munyenge with more than 30,000 population does not have electricity and water in 2017. Alternative solar energy, I'm working with some partners to see how solar energy can be given to the people of Bafia Munyenge.
And the Anglophone crisis that has changed the face of the subdivision, during which many died, others arrested, and some reportedly missing.
My sincere sympathy to those who have lost their loved ones. You will see the essence of a government, of a country, is to bring everybody together, and I think Cameroon is very exempted. But when it gets to the point where within the same country, we start losing our brightest military, our civilians, a cause for a crisis that needs to be resolved by Cameroonians.
Painful, King Michael admitted, but he regretted that the dishonest nature of some politicians has helped in fueling the crisis.
Politicians don't want to be honest with themselves. We should look for ways and look for solutions to improve on the living conditions of our population.
In his file now is the Moyoka Council draft budget of 1 billion for 2018.
This draft budget,
presenting before the supervisory authority at the second ordinary session of the Moyoka Council, King Michael defended that this budget will meet the basic needs of the population. And after examination, the budget of 1 billion was adopted.
Council.
It was a long day for the Commonwealth Secretary General visiting Cameroon, as her visit to the country entered a very decisive and crucial phase following her journey to the Southwest Regional Headquarters of Buea today, one of the regions plagued by the socio-political crisis, otherwise known as the Anglophone problem. Chiefs in the Southwest region made their stance on the return to two-state federation very clear. Many criticized why those of the Northwest region and also elites were not represented amongst those who had to meet with the visiting Commonwealth Secretary General. Of course, before we come back to the atmosphere in Buea, we talk about the opposition leaders that met with the Commonwealth Secretary General in the nation's capital, Yaoundé, yesterday. If there is one thing that all the opposition leaders who met with the Commonwealth Secretary General yesterday emphasized on, it was the need for a genuine and frank dialogue to be given a pride of place. The chairman of the Social Democratic Front, John Frundi, said that dialogue has never prevailed as far as the Anglophone crisis is concerned, while the president of the MDR political party noted that the Anglophone crisis is the result of the failure of the policy of decentralization. Innocent Aze has the details.
Patricia Scotland is expected in the southwest region of Cameroon this Friday. She visits the English-speaking region due to pressure on her by heads of political parties, especially the main opposition, SDF of John Frundi, during exchanges with them in Yaoundé Thursday.
We tried to accuse her that she didn't visit the Anglophone sections of the country to get an on-the-spot assertion of what is happening. So she said she'll be going to Buea, which we're very pleased about that.
The principal opposition party leader points accusing finger at President Paul Biya for dialogue delay over the Anglophone crisis.
Can we ever have meaningful dialogue in this country? The first dialogue that Mr. Biya failed right here, he took off. And since the Anglophone issue started, students were killed. Children are not going to school. Lawyers are not going to work. He said he has accepted what they wanted. He signed for them to go ahead. But has Mr. Biya ever addressed Cameroon on this issue?
Other political parties represented at the Senate and National Assembly did not differ in opinion. Dakol Daesala of the MDR also criticized the head of state.
Le président est pris en otage par son entourage. Pourquoi avoir peur des mots?
According to the CPDM leader, like Gregoire Owona, the meeting with the Commonwealth Secretary General is a channel to continue the dialogue process that has started months ago.
Nous continuons le dialogue.
We continue the dialogue that started since the month the head of state did many things. Today you know the situation of the country. Dialogue continues. During the meeting with heads of political parties and civil society organization actors in Yaoundé, Patricia Scotland reiterated the need for dialogue to put an end to the Anglophone crisis.
All the political parties said that there was a need for creative, productive and effective, serious dialogue. And that is something which is seen as needed by everyone. If solutions are to be arrived at, then dialogue needs to be there and needs to be taking place as soon as possible.
Patricia Scotland visits the Southwest region this Friday, which according to her program is the day marking the end of her 5-day visit.
And her 5-day visit, or her several hours visit to the Southwest Regional Headquarters of Buea ended this afternoon. Patricia Scotland will be granting a press conference at the Simaleng Airport in just a few minutes from now. At exactly 7 p.m. local time, the meeting with the press would mark the end of her 5-day mission to Cameroon. The population of Tombel in the Southwest region of Cameroon are now saying that they are excluding themselves from preparations of end-of-year feast. We take a look now at the timid preparations of end-of-year feast in that part of Cameroon. Sellers outnumber buyers in the market, as Innocent Aze once again tells us in the following report.
It is in the context of crisis that the population of Tombel in the Kupe Manengoba division of the Southwest region will be celebrating end-of-year festivities.
Radicalization of the revendications has transformed Tombel into a barbaric and war zone with security beefed up and several checkpoints created to curb violence before, during and after this end-of-year feast. Many inhabitants cherish the move.
Ça nous permet d'être, n'est-ce pas, en sécurité.
Even though the security might be helpful, residents say life remains difficult due to the Anglophone crisis, as many traders, especially those referred to as Bayam Selams, fear to enter Tombel. Businesses of all sorts are completely paralyzed. The boring nature of the markets compel business persons to fall asleep. Considering these periods as one which many business individuals generate enough income from the sale of Christmas and New Year articles, foodstuff and other materials, those in the Tombel and Ebunji markets are deserted as no customer comes buying. Only the traders and their kids admire and play with their stock.
In news out of Cameroon, life is gradually returning to normalcy in Kenya, notably in the capital Nairobi, after the post-election protest and violence that hit the country following the proclamation of President Uhuru Kenyatta's victory as far as the elections in Kenya is concerned. Barbara Jonathan is going to be painting the picture of Nairobi in the following report.
Ashes from burnt tires, pieces of damaged market stalls and broken glasses have disappeared on the streets in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, weeks after violent demonstrations that erupted after the presidential election and the repeat of the election ordered by the Supreme Court. Major streets that were boiling with supporters of main opposition leader Raila Odinga protesting the victory of President Uhuru Kenyatta have become calm. They have become beehives of activities for some of the protesters and other Kenyans trying to shake off the past and focus into the future. Within the Nairobi Central Business District, life is picking up, while in the slums, dwellers, especially young people, pour out their grievances over growing unemployment in the country. The however joint majority of Kenyans to call for dialogue and reconciliation between President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga. Some of them have urged the two leaders to give them back the Kenya united and peaceful left behind by founding fathers. Uhuru Kenyatta had earlier taken the commitment to unite Kenya.
And we talk sports football. Some supporters of UMS of Loom have been given a partial sum of the transportation they paid to push their club into the victory of the Cameroon Cup finals. The supporters who were abandoned after the club's defeat in the nation's capital had decried the manner in which the club was being managed. Our reporter's Manchik and Gabriel has the details.
The way we don't lose ball, other people they take money for tossing a bag aller-retour. They leave it for Yaoundé so that we say we don't correct so. We send phone before Intermoto come for Lumso.
That was the ordeal faced by a supporter of UMS of Loom after the club was defeated by New Stars at the 2017 Cameroon Cup finals. A situation which led to the summoning of a crisis meeting between some supporters of the club and the divisional officer of Loom. One of the major resolutions during that meeting was that the transportation agencies involved will refund part of the money to the supporters. That promise of the DO has been realized partially, as some supporters have been given 3,500 francs each, which represents the transport they paid from Yaoundé to Loum. Meanwhile, two other transportation agencies are still to respect the DO's command. A supporter of UMS tells us,
qui sont les supporters affamés.
There are some hungry supporters who plotted to chase away a coach and some players because they refused to give them 1,000 francs each. This is what has caused the disorder in the club. Another supporter says, God has exposed the traitors in UMS who had turned the club to a business hub. They took a bus of 55 places and lied to the president that it was a 70-seater bus. The supporters are now hoping that the other bus agencies that have disappeared will come back and reimburse the funds, while the divisional officer continues to investigate the whereabouts of the 5,000 francs the supporters paid each to travel to Yaoundé for the cup finals.
And that brings us to the end of this first segment of the news. Up next is Talking Point. Stay with us. Our guest tonight is Mr. Ngindo Gibet. Mr. Ngindo Gibet, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Thank you, Mimi. I'm glad to be here to talk about the nasty nature of our country now. It's in gaiety to talk about what's happening now, and especially to contribute in my own capacity what can better our country now.
And we are going to be talking about the visiting Commonwealth Secretary General. The working visit of Patricia Scotland entered day 5 today, and the most remarkable twist of it was her visit to the Southwest Regional Headquarters of Boya. Unexpected, but it happened. It finally became a reality. She actually met with some Anglophone leaders in Yaoundé yesterday, as well as some political parties that are represented at the level of the National Assembly. We equally saw how she met with some chiefs in the Southwest region. The single thing that has been is now being called like a song, being sung by many, is dialogue. Dialogue on the part of opposition, dialogue on the part of chiefs and many others. What do you have to say about that, Mr. Ngindo Gibet?
Thank you very much. One thing that is very important here that I am particularly preoccupied about is in the first place, the caliber of people the SG of the Commonwealth, the Gentleman's Club, met in Cameroon. You know, the nasty nature of our country now warrants that any foreigner who cares for the well-being of Cameroon that enters this country now should meet the caliber of people to meet now. Is very important. It is very normal that the government of this country, to whom sovereignty and national integrity is entrusted, is there, and any person who enters this country has to meet them first. And that is normally why Madame Patricia Scotland had to meet the President of the Republic in the first place. It is normal. And the version that is coming from the President of the Republic is supposed to be considered at a very high level by the SG of the Commonwealth. But then, what are we talking now? We are in a country which has been fragmented not only by the Anglophone crisis that is plaguing the country from the southwest and the northwest region. We are equally plagued by a country which out of 10 regions, 6 of them are in perpetual destabilization. The northern region, the southwest north, and the southwest and the northwest region, and then the east, a problem of refugees from Central Africa. I want to say here very clearly that we must know that the problems facing Cameroon are not only an Anglophone crisis. I am an Anglophone. I can't hide this. Whether you want to point a gun at me, shoot me. There is nothing you can stop me from being an Anglophone Cameroonian. But then, something must be clear here. The name Cameroonian cannot go away from me. This is why I say that from the north, the east, and the west, and the south, let us have that Cameroonianness in us. The truth is this. Madam, the SG of the Commonwealth entered this country. She's had to do with the government ministers, the President of the Republic, the Prime Minister probably, the head of the Commission for Bilingualism, His Excellency or His Honorable Peter Mafani Musonge. He's going to do with the President of the Senate, he's going to bring the Assembly and every institution in this country. And later on, he had to do with the opposition party. He met with the a chairman of the SDF, Barrister Gobala. He met with others, leaders of political parties. But there is a question mark. There is a question mark on the corporate credibility. This corporate credibility is that did the Commonwealth Secretary General care to meet the opposite camps? Because these two people, the government, the SDF chairman, political leaders and others do not actually represent the opposite camps that are in this country now. Because when you get to political heads now, they will advocate their party lines. They will advocate their party politics, policies. They will not actually redress the pending problems that this country is facing. Because as we talk now, this country is facing a problem that does not actually need just, let me be careful, just solutions or decisions of political leaders.
So what do you mean by opposing camps?
Opposing camps now need that the table of the so-called dialogue we are glorifying and venerating in this country has to involve everybody, either extremes, those that are called terrorists, those who are called secessionists, those who are called federalists, those who are called rogues, those who are called any kind of, and what have you. I mean,
their voices are supposed to be heard.
Tell me, these are people who we should not call the names. These are some people who, like I said, from north to south and west to east, they are Cameroonians who are suffering from frustration. Frustration which, across the year, these people found they found their pride and their heritage watered down by political and self-aggrandizement, by some groups and some people who felt that power belongs only to them, who felt that they can decide on the destiny of people without the people being concerned. I'm surprised.
For those who were able to meet, for those who were able to meet her, we had opposition party leaders, like you said, civil society actors as well. How significant is it going to be? What kind of message will she be taking back to the Gentleman's Club?
The message she would take back to Gentleman's Club, the message she will take back to London is an almost complete message. Almost complete because she met with Nijon Frondi of the opposition political party, which of course doesn't cherish the approach taken by the government in face to the Anglophone crisis. Met with Barrister Gobala Felix, who is an ex-convict and who sometimes have been lingering with his words, and I would have preferred that she met with an extremist, somebody who is qualified in Cameroon as a secessionist. I do not qualify any person, but I wanted that the government should pinpoint somebody, if the government has good faith, pinpoint somebody from the secessionist camp who is still in this country. Well, if you ask me, Madam, the SG of the Commonwealth would have met somebody like Honorable Wiba Joseph, would have met somebody who would truly tell her, would have met somebody in Boya. I'm sure that she met somebody like Professor Kufele Kale Ndiva in Boya, who is a regional coordinator, but at the same time would have met Governor Okala Bilai, because they are opposing camps, so that in Boya she gets the reality of the terrain. In Bamenda, she meets with Governor Lele Lafrique, and then meet with somebody like.
Unfortunately, her visit was only limited to the Southwest Regional Headquarters.
And that is where we have a problem, because the Commonwealth is an association where Cameroon is membership, and therefore, if Cameroon, they send somebody to Cameroon, therefore they should be ready to get objective views so as to link Cameroon into an objective conclusion, so as to find the lasting solution to the nasty situation we find ourselves today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ngindo Gilbert, for joining us tonight on Talking Point. We hope to have you some other time again.
I'm glad I was here, and I will want.
Thank you.